Thank you very much, everybody.
From the Oval Office tonight, President Trump with a wink and a tease.
Thank you very much. You'll find out.
Revealing no new details about the meaning of this cryptic comment during a reception with military leaders and their spouses Thursday night.
You guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What's the storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Sound the alarm. The government is trying to do is harm. Don't worry about the weather, it's a calmer to the storm. Pay attention to the mission, cause these wolves are out to get you. Either do as they say, yo, they take you out. Sound the alarm. The government is trying to do is harm. Don't worry about the weather, it's a calmer to the storm. Pay attention to the mission, cause these wolves are out to get you. Either do as they say, yo, they take you out the picture.
Coming on the air at this hour with breaking news. Just moments ago, the U.S. shot down a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon off the coast of the Carolinas. A recovery operation is now underway.
Shall win!
And this morning, when asked if the U.S. would shoot it down, President Biden said, "We'll take care of it." Defense officials say the balloon was first spotted in U.S. airspace over Alaska, then seen over Montana on Wednesday.
And right now, there is a ground stop on our airport.
Well, a brief aviation ground stop was ordered as defense officials considered shooting down the balloon.
This thing is up in the sky.
They decided to hold off, ultimately citing safety concerns for those on the ground.
And I have no idea what it is. It's been there stationary for about the last 35
The
minutes.
balloon continued moving across the country, last seen over the Carolinas. The Chinese claimed that it was primarily a weather balloon that had floated into American airspace by force majeure, or forces beyond their control.
And for those of you who think this might just be
U.S.
the moon,
officials repeatedly said, though, that was not true, calling it a high-altitude surveillance balloon.
it is not the moon.
And you'll never be.
The moon is off to my right. I can see it. This is significantly smaller than the moon.
I told them to shoot it down.
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
But the recommendation
They said to me, let's wait till the safest place to do it.
The Biden administration says waiting allowed us to better understand the Chinese program and further confirmed its mission was surveillance.
What China did was unacceptable. We protected civilians, and we gained more intel while protecting our own sensitive information.
Chinese officials insist the flyover was an accident involving a civilian aircraft. They accuse the U.S. of hyping up the incident and damaging the relationship between the two countries.
Biden wants to surrender our country to the violent left-wing mob. You see what's happening. If Biden wins, very simple, China wins.
We're the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world.
I want to get your take on all of China, communist China's actions, but we'll start with this power grab and land grab to buy land right near our military installation.
I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world, but make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
It does not feel like this administration is serious about holding China to account.
I'm in the city of Adana, which is right near what was the epicenter of this devastating earthquake.
I mean, we've got Navy divers this morning recovering debris from the Chinese spy flight. It was shot down on the coast of South Carolina on Saturday, as you know.
This morning, a massive international rescue effort underway in Turkey and Syria in a desperate race against time to find survivors.
But this administration has successfully tried to change the conversation.
Meanwhile, in Syria, a country already suffering the effects of civil war, a rare rescue for a little girl a day after an earthquake destroyed
They're trying
her
to
home.
change the conversation from the enormity of what we have just witnessed, that a spy flight was flying throughout the middle of America for up to a week.
South Carolina sits between two of the top 20 human trafficking hubs, that of Charlotte and Atlanta.
Attorney General Alan Wilson, along with members of the state's human trafficking task force, have launched a new effort to spot human trafficking.
And we don't know what kind of damage this has caused, what kind of information and data it has sent back in real time to the CCP.
Human trafficking continues to plague communities across South Carolina.
The top 5 counties with the most reports of suspected human trafficking are Horry County, Charleston, Greenville, Richland, and Anderson.
We are seeing increasing increasing numbers of children and adolescents identified as victims of sex and or labor trafficking.
And as the death toll keeps rising,
Just horrifying.
many worry precarious buildings.
And yet, instead of that, we're talking about whether or not this has happened before.
Entire buildings collapsing. What's happening right now?
Yeah, Lindsay, we're talking about complete and utter devastation in Turkey and in Syria. I mean, we know collectively between the two countries, some 3,000 buildings have just crumbled. We know the death toll is soaring past 2,200. That, of course, will continue to rise. Thousands of people are injured. We're talking about a 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit, followed by a 7.7 magnitude earthquake. These are being called the worst that this region has seen in about 100 years. You take a look at these devastating images, as you mentioned, in Turkey, for example, where you're just seeing collapsed building, rubble, and you know that underneath are people that are trapped, screaming for help.
COVID has taken this year,
rushing to
just
the scene,
the outbreak,
trying to get these people.
It's taken more than 100 years. Look.
These are being called the worst that this region has seen in about 100 years. You take a look at these devastating images, as you mentioned.
The lives, when you think about it.
And breaking news coming in, U.S. President Joe Biden has tweeted on the Turkey quake. He has said, and I quote, "I am deeply saddened by the loss of life and devastation caused by the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. I have directed my team to continue to closely monitor the situation in coordination with Turkey and provide any and all needed assistance." That's the piece of breaking news that's
More
coming
lives
in.
This year
That pitch
than
coming
any
in
other
from
year
U.S. President Joe Biden.
For the past 100 years. More than 180,000 lives in just 6 months. And a lot of people you have unnecessarily. Now we have over 120 million dead from COVID. More than 180,000 lives in just 6 months. An average of 1,000 people dying every day in the month of August. Do you really feel safer under Donald Trump?
Republicans and even some of Biden's fellow Democrats had criticized the administration for allowing the Chinese balloon to float all the way to the Atlantic Ocean before it was taken down.
Meantime, there are questions about why Canada didn't shoot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon before the U.S. did.
A Chinese satellite was recently seen beaming down green lasers over the islands.
More flying objects shot down over North America today.
And it comes just one day after the U.S. took out a different object over Alaska.
3 times in 1 week, U.S. fighter jets have shot objects out of the sky.
You just referenced 3 flying objects. I'm here to tell you about a 4th right now that we've been able to confirm, and that is over Montana.
And with these last 2 over Canada and Alaska, the White House still unable to confirm what they were or where they were from.
There is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card.
At issue here,
the last card.
Jim, is really what is going on with these objects.
The last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
The threat that they pose. Now, remember that they would have been given some kind of intelligence when NORAD had actually spotted this high-altitude object, as they're calling it, to give an indication that possibly there was a threat.
It's happening.
I found it.
We cannot keep drifting apart.
They said, in the darkest days of the revolution,
into 2 separate tribes.
The times have found us.
I actually heard the aliens are already here.
And the threat that they pose. Now, remember that they would have been given some kind of intelligence when NORAD had actually spotted this high-altitude object, as they're calling it, to give an indication that possibly there was a threat. I would assume that if it was over northern Canada, that Canadian forces, the Air Force would have determined that they could shoot it down without a risk to people on the ground. And more than that,
feel the tone. I can't sleep. I'm puffy.
What's something that you always carry with you?
I'm
hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
As your attorney, I advise you to take a hit out of the little brown bottle in my shaving kit.
You ever wonder why the
Queen Elizabeth died at 96?
England's still alive?
You won't need much.
Hot sauce in my bag?
Hot sauce.
Just a baby boost. Tiny taste.
Before we do anything this hour, we want to check in with Chris. How you doing,
Chris?
bud?
How you feeling?
I'm doing well. The beast comes at night.
Communist China reportedly getting ready to bail out Vladimir Putin. What is this shit? The U.S. and NATO allies hitting Russia right where it hurts, as you know, with these harsh sanctions and the banning of Russian blood oil. The Kremlin vowing to fight back, saying America has declared an all-out economic war, but then Russia turns to China, and China could be tossing Putin a financial life preserver. Considering they are, we are told, buying stakes in Russia's energy sector. So China will just, take up the slack for Russia. Absolutely.
Banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine.
In a long-awaited response to a Western price cap, Russian president has signed a decree that bans the supply of crude oil and oil products to nations that impose the cap. According to the decree, the ban will come into effect from 1st of February and last for 5 months.
Today, the most common price of gas in America is $3.39.
Given the corona,
I've not talked to any individual. Down from over $5 when I took off.
You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow. I don't know, sir.
And as for the price when he took office,
I learned that actually covering your White House.
During a speech in Syracuse, New York, the president made the following claim.
No, actually, that's true, but fortunately I'm alone in my home, but that's okay.
Gas averaged $2.39 a gallon.
Over $5 when I took off.
Not more than $5.
Right.
I agree, you're right.
It's kind of old school to do it with your hand. Do it into your elbow. You're supposed to do it.
I want to thank you also for holding this important hearing on the brazen into America's airspace by a Chinese surveillance balloon. In fact, a sophisticated spy balloon such as this one provides certain advantages over high-tech satellites.
Give a press conference and how to buy a sailboat as Prime News coverage.
And guys, the situation across the border in Syria is even worse. That's where they've been facing.
Folks, we all know 12 years of education is not enough to win the economic competition of the 21st century. We want to have the best educated workforce. Let's finish the job.
My name is Joe Biden, and I love my school.
By providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish the job.
Let's finish the job.
To finish high school and go on to earn. We're making progress. It connects students to career opportunities by reducing student debt. Can't turn away. We're working in middle-class families.
Let's finish the job.
Let's finish the job.
Savings permanent.
Provide access to 2 years of community college after we let it expire in the Republican administration. Mass shootings triple. Let's finish the job. Let's do what we know in our hearts and ban these assault weapons. We need to do. And let's also come together. Let's come together to finish the job. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them.
Given the corona,
I have not, though. Do something about gun violence. I have not talked to any individual. Excuse me. Every once in a while, something you learn makes you viscerally angry.
And by the way, talking inflation.
Like if you had the person in front of you, you'd want to pop them.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down.
COVID-19!
COVID-19!